67. Yeah,
We really appreciate you taking the time to do this for us.
sure. What else am I gonna do? Lay on the couch?
Okay.
I like talking to students. A
Yes.
little, a little advice before you screw up your life is usually pretty good.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
I said, little advice before you mess up your life is good.
I agree. So I hope you're okay with us recording this.
Sure.
Okay, perfect. So we are going to go ahead and get started. So welcome listeners to or viewers to More Than a Resume. I'm your co-host Shira Lynch and this is Jari Myers. And today we have a very special guest who I'm about to introduce. So from milking cows at age 8 on a small farm in Oklahoma to overseeing some of the world's largest hotel and entertainment operations, Lee Cockerell's career is extraordinary. After high school, he left college, joined the Army, and attended cook school, which launched his hospitality journey. Starting as a banquet waiter at the Hilton in Washington, D.C., he climbed the corporate ladder at prestigious properties like the Conrad Hilton and Waldorf Astoria. Lee played a key role in Marriott's growth before moving to Disney, whereas an executive vice president of operations at Walt Disney World, he oversaw a vast empire. Today, he's an author, speaker, and consultant sharing his leadership wisdom worldwide. Give it up.
Hey.
You sound so excited.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
you're
All right.
very welcome.
Lee, when you were 8, you milked cows every morning before school and would haul them across the road to your neighbors, the Thompsons, who gave you 50 cents and peaches when they were in season. How did that early experience of hard work and responsibility shape your work habits, work ethic, or even your approach to leadership later in your career?
Yeah, I think back about that. When you live on a farm, or when you're poor, which we were, uh, you don't really think about it as hard work. It's just that's the way it is. Your mother tells you to do it, you do it,
Mhm.
and everybody does it. And so it's just kind of I didn't see it as a lot of kids say, "Oh, my dad makes me do this and do that." No, it was just what I had to do before I went to school. When I got home, and we had as chores as we called them, and we did them. So I think it helped. I think all experience brings you to who you are. I mean, literally. I mean, I've worked in lumber yards. I worked in the oil fields. I've worked in a drugstore as a driver. I worked in a fraternity house in the kitchen. Uh, and then my wife and I moved 11 times. I worked for Hilton all those years, for 8 years, and then at Marriott for 17 years, and we moved all over the place. And then we went to France in 1990, and I opened Disneyland Paris, and we've been in this house 31 years, and we moved 11 times before that. So the early days, and literally our goal was just go where the opportunity was. We never looked back about having to move or leave or go somewhere else. And I would say we generally enjoyed everywhere we lived. And it was good for my son too. He's a big traveler now. Now he's the CEO of a big university in Australia. And my grandkids, even when they were 12 and 13, were flying to Europe by themselves. They had no fear of this travel thing. It changes who you are. I mean, we talk, and university is certainly important, but experience and exposure,
Mhm.
there's nothing like that. And my granddaughter just moved to Manhattan about 6 months ago, and it's changing her rapidly. Living in right, she looks out the window to the Empire State Building, and and you just think about all. She told me she can already see that it's changing her. And so one thing I would tell everybody listening, get as many experiences, exposures to people you don't know. Somebody said, well, I can't travel. It's too expensive. I said, well, at least go to a Mexican restaurant tonight. Learn something else, find ways to get exposure, making new friends. And I mean, it's just, when I left Oklahoma, let me tell you, I'm not the person I was when I left Oklahoma. I was a kid who knew nothing. I'd never been out of the state.
Wow.
When I never been out of the state, I didn't read the paper, I didn't watch the news. I had no clue what was going on in the world. Then and early days, I told people my mother was married 5 times, so she was kind of busy. And I've been adopted twice. I got my name Cockerell when I was 16 by husband number 4. That's why I got to go to college, because he had money. And my mother started making better choices. And it turned out I was not a good student. Nobody paid attention to my education. It was a little farm town. I think back, I don't think a teacher ever helped me or thought about it. My parents didn't pay attention to it.
Mhm.
So you go off to college, that's big time. And I didn't know how to study. I didn't. So I got frustrated and then I left and went in the Army. That was probably the best thing for me, because I learned a lot of discipline and doing things and
Mhm.
that kind of responsibility. Yeah.
Let's take a moment and stop and talk about that. So you briefly attended Oklahoma State University, but you decided that college wasn't the right path for you. So what led to that decision, and how did joining the Army and attending Cook School impact your journey into the hospitality industry?
Well, yeah, my mother decided it wasn't for me since my grades were so bad.
Okay.
And at that time was Vietnam, so you were either in college or you were in the military. So I joined and did my thing, and learning to be a cook. You know what about being a cook in the Army? You have to follow the recipe card. You can't just throw things together,
Mhm.
because they want the meals to be consistent, and you've got only so many ingredients to feed the 300 guys. And I was baking hamburger buns one day, and I was not paying attention, and I didn't put the yeast in at the right time. And if you don't put the yeast in, it doesn't rise. And so I was found out that was a problem, and I poured the yeast in after way late, trying to punch it in. Then took it out and put it in the trash, which is a problem. Then I borrowed flour and other things from the other mess halls, and about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, a guy came in and said, "You better get out here." And this stuff had started rising. It was coming out of the trash can like a river.
Oh, wow.
And you got to follow the recipe, and there are recipes to life. I think, I tell people things that have been successful for me are routine,
Mhm.
knowing what you're going to do on purpose. I like to have a plan. I like to know what I'm going to do. I schedule I schedule my exercise. I schedule my doctor's appointments. I schedule my work. I do planning time every day. And I think that's what gets a lot of people in trouble. There's too much coming at them. They don't know how to handle it all. And there's a lot of anxiety now. Students and faculty and parents, the level of anxiety today is just too much coming and not knowing how to handle all of that. And then
Mhm.
you get kids and it gets even worse. So
Yeah, right.
Speaking
ask
about
your parents. Your parents will tell you that you totally stress them out. So
after
but that again was a good experience. And then going off to Washington for me was something, because I'd never been anywhere.
Yeah.
And when you go to Washington, if you don't like other people or other religions or
Mhm.
sexual orientation or people from everywhere,
Mhm.
it becomes your life. You work with them, you date them, whoever they are. And that was the best thing that happened to me, is an appreciation for really the world and the people, because I had had no exposure. And by the way, I didn't meet a black person until I was 20 years old.
wow.
I went to a white school. We had a white school, a black school, and a third school for Native Americans. They were segregated also.
Mhm.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
It was bad times. I graduated in 62, so I was there in the 50s. And I tell my grandkids this story, they look at me like, what? They can't hardly believe it.
Yeah.
But it was, no exposure. It was very bigoted and racist. And boy, the best thing that ever happened to me is getting out of there. I tell students today, as soon as you graduate, get out of the village. Nothing's going to change in the village. Your
Mhm.
mother will be sad that you left, but go to the big city for 5 years and really make your way, and you'll be a different person. You'll be a totally different person. It'll affect you dramatically.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that was my route to escaping,
Mhm.
and it was good.
Yeah.
Okay, so after you left the Army, you were second in your class in cook school right behind Terrence Briggs, and y'all worked for a hotel in Washington, the Hilton Hotel in Washington, D.C. as a banquet waiter. What leadership lessons did you take away from that first role in hospitality?
All right. So first of all, I'd never been in a hotel. We lived on a farm. We didn't have any money. We never go to hotels or vacation. So I was shocked. The ballroom seated 3,000 people. The president comes every week with some conference or famous people from around the world. I about passed out when I saw the size of the ballroom, and luckily, like all in life, somebody took a paid attention to me and started teaching me the business. And I was the only one there that wasn't a professional hotel kind of person. A lot of them were from Germany in those days. They could get green cards and come there to work. That's the hotel where President Reagan was shot back in '81, coming out of the side of the hotel to his car. And I mean, I found out how little I know working there. You know, what you don't know is unbelievable. But I learned. I said, at least I know which fork to use now when I go out to dinner, and put the napkin in my lap.
Yeah.
And which one, and there's some of those dinners we'd have 5 glasses on the table. I said, what? Well, when I was at home, you only had one fork. But you just learn more about life, and you meet people, and all the conventions that come through, you learn about different businesses you didn't even know about. And I met my wife there. She was in the office next door to mine. She used to come in my office to sharpen her pencils. That's where I spotted her. She wouldn't go out with me for a year. She said I had a bad attitude. She had a French boyfriend, and it took about a year to get rid of him. And she said, I said, I just want to take you to lunch. She said, yeah, right. And she was pretty smart. And so, yeah, so then I applied for a job in accounting. It was a clerk's job, paid $80 a week. And I didn't get it because I didn't have experience, but they couldn't fill it because it paid so little. So they gave it to me 3 months later. And I started learning all about the finance and the accounting and the inventorying and the food purchasing and supply chain. And my boss left a few months later and I got his job. And that started. Now I was the food and beverage controller, had that on my resume. Then I got promoted to Chicago and did it good, and then to the Waldorf. And let me tell you, you just keep learning more and more and more. And early on, I had very poor self-confidence. You can imagine coming out of Oklahoma, going to Washington, no college degree, having no clue what you've done. But each time I had success in what I was doing, I got better and better and better. And then I just got. I tell you what, I'll tell you, students, is the 2 things that made me successful. No college degree. I have a really good attitude, and I'm reliable. Let me tell you, reliability, because in my opinion, that's the only thing I can see if you work with me. I can't see if everything you know or don't know. I can see you have a great attitude and you're always going to make it happen, get it done, and you're reliable. You do what you say you're going to do. Those 2 things, I think people underestimate what those do for you in your life, because then people give you a shot. Because you think you got a boss, they're observing everybody that works for them. And some of the people haven't. I don't know, did you hear Barack Obama, what he said when they asked him what kind of person does he like to work with? He said, I like to work with people who get it done. He said, I don't care if they do it. I don't care how they do it. As long as I give them something, they get it done. And that's true. I didn't get everything done, but I found a way to get it done. And even today, if you don't have to do everything, you just got to get it done. And you can go to Google, you can go to a consultant, you can ask somebody for help. But at the end of the day, when you're in your career, they got you because they want you to do it, get it done, not create more problems for your boss. They got enough problems already. And those simple things like that is, I think, where a lot of to the people, they don't like their job and they come in late and they have that look on their face that your mother told you to get off your face when you were young, and they don't get a shot. And that was my real secret weapon. People asked me what I did at Disney. I said nothing. I said, I just had a great people reporting to me. They were experts because I had engineering, I had security, finance, marketing, all this stuff. I didn't know anything about any of it, but I hired really good people that and let them do their job because you can't be an expert anymore. You can't be an expert in IT and supply chain and accounting, one person. If you don't know how to hire the right people and work with a team, you're not ever going to get the mission accomplished. And that's what you gotta just, I was satisfied that I don't know this stuff, but I can get people to do it because I treat them right,
Mhm.
make sure they get the training, make sure they get clarity around their career, what is going to be next. I talked to a guy the other day. He said, my boss has not talked to me about my future. I've been there 6 years. Shame on him. I mean, come on. And he's a structural engineer. You can leave in a minute and get a structural engineer's job, and then they'll be sorry. Always made my direct reports raise their hand and promise never to leave without talking to me first. So, because that's what makes you successful is the talent. It's
Yeah.
always, I'll tell you, every problem you have in your life will be people.
Right.
That's it. People, now, think about the people that you would never hire them. Maybe some of them are your relatives, you go like, no way. And because it's all people. And as we always say, manage yourself first. Make sure you know what you're doing. You treat people right. You hire them right. You train them right. You treat them right. And you keep learning. And you can never catch up because every day there's things going on in the world you don't know about. There's technology you don't know about. I mean, every time I learn something, I go, why didn't I know that? Or somebody will mention a country. I didn't even know it was a country. I look it up and 4 million people live there. And I said to people, you don't get in trouble for what you know, you get in trouble for what you don't know. And when you can't make a good decision because you don't. So if you don't know, you get somebody that does know to help you. And we could do a better job in colleges with helping students that are, especially freshmen. We got a book coming out any day now. 6 of us wrote it together. Advice for first year freshmen about how to be successful, about all the things that they wish they had done after the first year, because so many drop out. It's unbelievable, the failure rate. And it's just they have no clue how to organize, how to go to office hours, how to set up and get to know the professor. Right. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do to improve your odds.
Yeah. Well, speaking of preparation strategies, so after moving to Marriott, you played a key role in the company's expansion over those 17 years. What were the most significant leadership strategies you developed during your time at Marriott, and how did they prepare you for your eventual move to Disney?
Yeah, the key thing that happened to me at Marriott, my boss made us go to a time management seminar, the whole team I was on, and I said, I can't, I don't want to go to this thing. I got work, man. That's 2 days. And I went, and I always sit on the front row so I don't get in trouble, back in the back playing around talking. And it was amazing. Well, it was right down my alley. I was already disciplined, but I learned a system for how to organize myself, how to get it done, how to say no, how to delegate, it was unbelievable. I went back and I implemented that with my day planner. In 4 days, I was on it. And I would say it's the number one thing that helped me be successful, because as you move up, you get more and more and more. And then you get a baby, and then you get a wife, and then you get and life becomes extremely stressful with all the stuff you have to get done. I always tell people, just sit down and write down a list of the responsibilities you think you're going to have in your life. Now, you may not have many now, but you're going to have your parents as a responsibility. They're going to get older. You're going to have your grandparents. You're going to have your retirement one day. And 90% of Americans retire with a negative net worth because they never quite had that conversation and never think about it. And next thing you know, you're born, you're 21, you're 65, and you're dead. Life goes by so fast. You say, what happened here? I didn't start my savings and investing. And time management, let me tell you, boy, that put me on. I became known for that, I am so reliable that if I don't show up, you should call my wife and give her your condolences because I'll be dead. I mean, it's a thing I got a problem with, it, and we've had a couple of issues in my marriage about, darling, it's time to leave. Let's go. Why aren't you ready? So I've had to calm down that part of my time management, but I just get it done. And the more organized you are, guess what? The more you can do.
Mhm.
The more you can do, your boss notices. And I have a grandson right now, works for a company, and he told his boss they had a big problem in the company with parts being in the right part of the world. And he said, I can take care of that. He said, what? He said, really? He said, yeah. And he put a system together because these kids today, like you all, are smarter than I don't even know how to turn my computer on. He worked on the system and everything got fixed. Well, he just got his annual review and they told him, wow, Julian, you do an amazing job. It's because he's organized and he's definitely, you can count on him. And every boss out there is having a nervous breakdown anyway. They don't need any more stress because their boss is hammering them. And so time management, I would definitely recommend. I wrote a book on that, Time Management Magic. And it makes sense. You got to have a system.
Mhm.
You run a company, you got a system. You got accounts payable, receivables, you got all this. But most people don't have a system for themselves. They don't schedule their doctor's appointments. They don't schedule their exercise. They don't schedule meeting with their team. They don't, all these things you have to do in life, forget to change the oil in their car, don't get to it. All these things you don't get to that eventually come back and bite you because, and I tell you what, I have a serious theory on what happens to college students, just like it does in life. It's a layering problem. Student gets there first year, by the first 3 days, he's got 60 pages to read. Didn't get them done. By next week, it's 100. And then these things start layering. And then the exams coming up, then they stay up all night and they don't do well. And then life is full of layering. And I can tell you, if you want to be successful, when you got a problem, kill it.
Mhm.
I don't care if it's a tough discussion with somebody, getting somebody out of your life, speaking up. Don't let it pile up because you know how you feel when you got 12 problems. You get paralyzed. And now I have an attitude now. I got a problem, I fix it.
Mhm.
And I sleep better because you don't lay in bed worrying about all those things you didn't do that are going to come back and bite you in a week or two. And so time management is really critical. I would tell anybody, boy, get that under your belt, and then you can take on more, you can do more, a matter of fact, it's not time management, it's about how do you keep your life under control? How do you know anybody that has their life out of control?
Quite a few, yes. Quite a few.
Yeah, just think about it. Who their life is out of control. And I can tell you, every problem in your life is probably your fault.
Ouch.
Because there was something
Yelling at me.
you could have done about it. You didn't do it.
Yeah.
You didn't have that talk with somebody not performing. You didn't get up early and go take that class. You didn't. I was going to. I wish. I mean, really, when you think of it, I said 99% of your problems are your fault and 1% are Mother Nature. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, some things can happen, but really, and you want a good exercise for a student, tell them to write down 3 things they're not happy about in their life. Just 3 things, anything. And then look at it and ask themselves, who's going to fix it? And I tell some other people, not you all, but so maybe you need a new wife, a new boyfriend. Maybe you need to tell your mother-in-law not to come over here anymore. Or maybe you need to take a class, or you need to do an internship, or you need to. But every time you have something hard to do, you're not happy about, it's because it's hard to do it.
Yes, sir.
People don't do the hard things. They do everything until they get to the hard line.
Right.
And then I don't want to have that talk with her. I mean, the next thing you know, 6 months goes by, you end up having to fire them or terminate them, or you get fired. But if something's hard, it's usually the right thing to do. if something's the right thing to do, it's always hard. You know, it's like exercise. I tell people, why don't you exercise? It's hard. That's all. Why do you eat 3 meatballs after dinner? Because it's hard to go push back. You know,
Yeah.
why didn't you study? Because the guys want to go out for a beer. It's hard. It's easy to do fun things.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Well,
Well,
that you got to really nail down. And once you do that, you will sleep like a baby. I'm serious. They say old people can't sleep. No, old people screw up so much they can't sleep.
Yeah.
Back together. So I don't drink alcohol. I took sugar out of my diet. I exercise. I have a strength trainer twice a week. I sleep like a baby.
Right. Right.
Actually, I told my granddaughter, I don't sleep like a baby. I sleep like a teenager. And these are things that are real life that are going to affect your life.
Yeah.
We always are looking for the special thing. No, it's the basics. It's the basics. Drink more water. Less beer.
Mhm. Mhm.
Go to bed.
Mhm.
Keep the room cold enough. Keep it dark enough.
Mhm.
Don't have an emotional argument with your boyfriend or girlfriend before you go home.
Mhm.
I mean, there's basics in life, and we're always looking for, oh, it's got to be more complicated than that. No, it's not. It's not complicated.
yes, sir. Okay, Lee. So you always weren't the leader you are today. And you had a couple incidents where addressing employees in an intimidating way led to stitches. Then, as VP of Food and Beverage at Marriott, you learned that a director was hospitalized from the stress of meeting you. How did this impact you, and what steps did you take to change your leadership style?
Yeah, I will tell you the first 15 years of my career, I was not a good leader. I was a good manager. I get it done. My nickname was Doberman. And I intimidated people because of my own insecurity, because I was really organized. And I could tell people 5 o'clock Friday, I need that man. And the word got out, boy, you better get it done because League, when he's coming, he does not take any prisoners. And that's the way I managed. And the problem was my boss let me do it. And I got paid for it. I got bonuses and all the stuff. Nobody ever sat down and talked to me about it. That's not the way long term to have a reputation of people want to work with you. And then I flew out to El Paso, and the food and beverage guy, I'd never met him, never been there. Had been transported to the hospital from just stress and the observation. They came back and we had a long talk that night. He told me that's what happened. He was so upset. Lee's coming and you will not have a good time. When he comes, it's going to be a bad day for you. I mean, the word, you know how you get a reputation?
Mm.
And I started working on that after that because I knew my mother and grandmother would kill me if they knew I was treating people that way. And I started going to seminar. I started reading more about leadership. I started trying to get better myself so I could have more confidence instead of using my authority to get things done to be the, and I can tell you the conclusion I came to after all those years, we don't need any bosses. We need teachers. That's it. Teach
Yeah.
people. Don't boss them, teach them.
Right.
It's like somebody does something wrong, don't yell at them. Teach them, train, show them again. It's like kids. They said the number one thing you shouldn't say to your kids all the time is no. Just redirect them. Because then they grow up, and all you hear, no, no, no. I mean, the responsibility of creating the culture and the environment of trust where they accept my feedback and they know I'm just teaching it, and there's no fear and no ramifications, and we've got to get better at that because we don't have enough empathy and we want to get things done quick, and quick is hard because when you do things quick, you don't use a lot of common sense and you don't use a lot of judgment, and sometimes you just use discipline. We overdo it. I think we overdo discipline and don't use enough empathy with people. And I remember back when I didn't know anything. My mother yelled at me too, and I don't like people yelling at me because it's in my brain now. I don't like that. And, so I think we've all got, I said, the way that you lead, empathy and discipline, and the way you manage is with firmness and fairness. People got to know you're firm and you're fair. You're going to tell them, but you're going to be firm about it. And when you deal with people doing something wrong or having a problem, you use empathy and discipline, like your mother did. She told you she loved you, but she was clear about you doing whatever she wanted you to do. How many times did your mother say, how many times do I have to tell you? You know, you're not going out looking like that. How many times she tell you clean your room? You know, I mean, in business, she didn't terminate you. You can't get rid of your kids. You got to develop them, and we got to do that at work. We need to have more humanity. I mean, I know that today, and that's why everybody's leaving their jobs. The young people today, they're not going to stick around. You mistreat them, they go. I have 3 grandkids, 29, 26, and 23. They're smart and they got a great job, but they won't put up with the nonsense that you don't respect them, include them, involve them, listen to them, train them, develop them, get them running. They can get another job every morning. And the employers are gonna figure this out, or they're gonna have a big problem because people are walking. I mean, service is terrible everywhere. Everywhere you go. No, it's not. It's bad because the employees new and they haven't been trained, and then the boss is freaking out and yelling at them, and they quit. And then you get another one. They're not trained. And it's a big wheel, and we could get away with that many years ago when plenty of people that the society, we had plenty of people to hire. You know, when I joined Disney, we hired 1 out of 10 people that applied. Today, we probably hire 1 out of 1. I mean, really, you got to get them, and you almost have to take the responsibility for teaching them what they don't know. A lot of people, they grew up poor, they don't know the right way to do it. You got to take that responsibility because the market doesn't have everybody ready to go and perfect and a good education and how to interact, and even teaching people how to interact with a customer today. The customers freak out too. They're hard, you know. And I did 51 videos for the frontline workers, from how to deal with an irate customer to how to deal with an internal employee that's creating problems. And the videos are only 2 to 3 minutes each because I'm finding young people fast. Tell me, I said, young people they want to know how to do it, not just don't tell me what to do. Tell me how to do it. And I don't think the schools are doing that. And I don't think business, just show me how to do it and then I can do it. And so often even, people want to tell you what to do. Okay, good. Now how do I do that? And they don't give you that part. How. And then when I talk about how, we talk about empathy, discipline, sitting down, reinforcement, I used to just say, get it done by 5 o'clock Friday. I didn't tell them anything. So the people probably hated my guts. So that's.
No. Well, I really appreciate how you continue to hold yourself accountable, especially how you did in the past and your past experiences. I think that's one of the key things to getting yourselves through those troubling times, or those tough times. And speaking of tough times, we know that Disneyland Paris was known as a challenging project, especially after its difficult opening. So what lessons did you learn from managing such a complex operation, and how did you handle the pressure during those tough times?
I'll tell you the same lesson you better learn: respect the culture. And that doesn't mean France, that means people. Respect the culture of people you work with, and don't assume that they believe everything you do and that they know everything you do and they know why. And that's the mistake we made. We went in there and, Mary, we know what we're doing. Americans know the best way. So we overpriced the product. French people do not pay the same for hotels as Americans, so we overpriced that. They do not buy as much merchandise as Americans, so we had a problem there with the income. They were not committed to loving Disney like a lot of employees here do, so they want their 35-hour work week. They don't want to hear about staying late, doing it, helping you. So we had to adjust to the culture, which was tough. So we fixed that when we went to China. We hired Chinese people, trained them for 2 or 3 years, and then they run the parks and they know our standards. And that was not understanding the culture, and that's an American thing. we're America. We're going to tell you what to do. We know better than everybody else. You know, we're going to come to your country and fix everything. And that does not, people push back on that. You may have been exposed to that somewhere where somebody was trying to push something down your throat. So that was what I learned is listen more, get to know the people, understand what the culture, which takes time. And today, you know, even today, before I go to any country for work, I really study the culture. I go online and there's a way to shake hands. There's a what you do, what you don't do. It it's and it's sensitive. It is very sensitive. First impressions. You know, if I get off the plane and I'm a old Yahoo from Oklahoma, I'm not going to get far. You know, I got to look right. I have a tie on, look like I'm alive, not doing that. You know, and that respect people, because every person is different. Don't ever believe there's anybody like you. There is nobody like you, and even people are going to. Sometimes it takes a long time to learn who you are. She may not know you well enough yet. May take time. Or things that you don't disclose to people, or beliefs you have that you don't publicly put out there. You got to be careful what you say and do every day with people. You got to be sensitive, because my first chapter in my book is remember, everybody matters. Everybody matters. And until you believe that, you can't have the success you could have. I mean, everybody matters. People say, well, why? I said, yeah, do you think the ladies who make the 70,000 beds at Disney matter? If they don't come in, we are dead.
Right.
If the dishwasher doesn't come in, we're finished. That's it. It's over for the day. I mean, it's like we've got to respect everybody and get over it. I mean, and a lot of that is exposure. And I think that's why I have had good. I did it. You know, I worked in there and I worked with people from all over the world, and I washed the dishes and I cooked, and I tell people I understand the difficulty of the work and understanding people. When I was in France, when you go in, and a lot of North Africans work there in the kitchens, and you better go through and shake hands, say hello, good morning to everybody. That's expected there. That's expected. If you just go in and ignore everybody and go off to your computer, you'll have a reputation of what's wrong with him. He doesn't like us, doesn't care. I mean, there's little things in every culture you got to try to learn as quick as you can before your reputation gets messed up.
Yeah.
And it's really amazing how different people are around the world. It's like, whoa. But there's one thing, they're all the same. They all want to be respected, included, involved, and listened to. And if you just remember that, you know, then you don't get into trouble. Don't be the elephant charging through this China store.
Okay, well, so you talked about the importance of creating a culture of inclusion at Disney. You can expand on the RAVE approach: respect, appreciate, and value everyone. Transform Disney World environment.
Okay, so I got to Disney in '93. I would say 98% of the managers were white males, very few women. Our customers were about the same, because that's what happens. People go where they feel comfortable and the reputation. And we, over the next couple of years, started to recognize this was an issue. In the old days, we controlled advertising because the internet wasn't here really very well yet. But then we could also almost see now anybody could put up a site, advertise their hotels, their places, and all that. And also that we were missing a huge market out there, you know. And so we slowly but surely started. We decided the key to the success in the future would be better leadership. That's it. Every place there's a manager or a supervisor, they had to be great, because they had 10 or 12 or 15 or 20 people working for them. So it doesn't matter what the boss up here, way up, it's your boss is what affects your life. You know, people don't leave Disney, they leave their boss. And we got 7,000 managers at Disney World. and about 85% are doing great, but people still quit, and they quit because the bosses, and the bosses, their manager doesn't do it on purpose, but people are disorganized. They don't follow up. They're having anxiety. They don't talk to you. They don't get you in the right training. Um, there's a million reasons why people don't do what they would probably want to do if everything was perfect. And my son told me once, he was a general manager of one of the hotels here, and he said, I feel like I'm 10 years older than everybody else because my managers come in, they got so many personal problems at home, and their wife calling, and credit card companies calling, and after them, and they got all these problems, and that they have neither the energy or the attention to be a good leader while they're at work for those 8 or 10 hours. And when being a leader is hard. You're on stage. You got to be like Mr. Perfect. And I said, when I got out of my car every morning, I took a deep breath and tried to behave all day because everybody's watching you. Think about every leader professor, how they treat you, you have an opinion about every person and they have an opinion about you. And we all need to be aware of that. Everybody matters, so pay attention to everybody. Be available for everybody. Help everybody with their career. Help make sure they get the right training. Make sure they get the right feedback on when they're not doing what they should be doing. That's why your mother does it, because she cares. And if managers care, they're going to do it. Not because they like to, it's because they want you to be successful. And that one key thing, I always use the analogy of mothers because caring is the name of the game. If I care about you, you're going to want to work with me. And you're going to do better, and you're going to be more productive, and you're going to have a better career and a better life and less mental health problems, frankly, which is a big problem. I tell you, the anxiety and mental health problems today across the country are severe. I mean, severe, and including college students that are not getting counselors. They're not getting counseling. The universities don't have enough counselors. Students are having to wait for weeks to get to see somebody. I talked to one university, 40% of their freshmen needed mental health counseling.
Wow. This conversation really reminds me of the importance of giving yourself grace. I serve as a career advisor here at the Career Center and an instructor for the students. And I'm constantly reminding them that there's this invisible tattoo on their head that says H.I.T. And it stands for human in training. That's going to be with you for the rest of your life. So it's really important to just continue to give yourself grace. But I'm pretty sure you're very familiar of a few other strategies, specifically from your Lee Cockerell Academy. Do you mind kind of expanding on that and telling us about what that is?
I worked all those years for all those great companies, and so I thought I knew something by then. But so I always wanted to write a book, but to get started, who's going to buy a book from Lee Cockerell? You know what I mean? Blah blah blah. And we had a friend who was a publisher in New York. She went to school with my wife 50 years ago. She was a literary agent, and she came to our house to visit, and she read some of my stuff. She said, you ought to write a book. I said, yeah, I don't know how to get it done. She said, don't worry, I'll take care of that. And I had the manuscripts written because I'd written a lot about my thoughts that I published to the employees. I did a newsletter every Friday, went out every day Friday to explain what we were looking for and how to do it, recognizing people and talking about safety. And anyway, we did it, and Disney approved it and let me put Disney on the cover. They've never done that before. And I was holding my breath. I was sure the lawyer was going to stop it, but they didn't. And that first book, Creating Magic, that book has now been out 16 years. It's still selling at the same rate. It's a textbook in many schools. It's around the world. I have a huge audience in India, China, it's in Russia, it's in 22 languages. And you know why? Because it's simple. It's basic. It's not complicated. Even the dumb guy like me can do it. So, the basics again. people, make sure everybody's tell you how to do that. Create magic through training and educate people so they can have a better life. Remove the hassles from your customer's life and your students' lives, procedures, policies, operating guidelines, all that stuff. So yeah, as you go through it, it's just like, duh, my mother taught me this. But you forget as you get older, the basics about how we treat people. You know, we grow up hearing all this, treat everybody, but we don't always do it. I don't know where you guys grew up and what environment you grew up in, and I'm sure you have many examples of where the talk did not align with the action and the behavior. And so got that out. And a year later, they came back and said, write it. We want you to write another book on customer service. So I did the customer rules, which is up there. And that's been very successful too, and it's doing great. And then I wrote a time management book because I figured this is what people need, and it's in many languages now. And I get a lot of feedback on that about I finally learned how to organize myself. Because when you think about it, when you go on vacation, you know how to organize yourself. You got to get packed, you got to buy the tickets, you got to get the hotel. There's a procedure, things you go through. And if you have a way of thinking that way, anything you attack, project, school, vacation, a project at work, you start to sit down and think, okay, here's how to do it. Here's what I got to do by this date and this date. I have planning time every morning. I go to my coffee place. I sit there. I think about what I need to do for my wife, my grandkids, talk to my finance guy. Do it this week. I need to I've already got my appointments with my doctors because the minute I leave my doctor, I make the next appointment right there when I'm in the office. And I had my medical recently, and I'm in perfect health. And I just turned 80. And let me tell you, when you get to be 80, you'll wish you'd take good care of yourself because it's everything.
Yep.
Speaking on your doctor and just reading your book, I see a lot of examples of loyalty. Even your doctor, for example, you have the same doctor in Washington. Is that still your doctor today? Do you still fly to Washington to visit that same doctor?
No, he died.
I'm so sorry about asking about that.
But we've had the same doctors here for 20, 25 years.
That's great. That's great.
And yeah, my doctor died. I remember. He took good care of me, I guess. So
You're going through it.
I like loyalty. I think loyalty, that's an interesting thing. Relationships, like I go to a coffee place every morning, every day. I spend obscene amounts of money there for coffee. I mean, it's like crazy. When I walk in, they're also happy to see me. Lee. I have meetings there. Everything is perfect. The food is good. The people are good. The bathroom's clean. They don't run out of toilet paper. The music's good. The lighting's good. The internet's great.
Yeah.
We all go back to a place where people are happy to see us. Don't be that manager of people wish you'd die. When they see your car coming to work, they wish it would go the other way. People just need to be nice here. You don't have to be an ass. Give me a break. You can be firm and fair. You don't. Somebody said, well, I can be nice when I fire you. I still see people that I fired, it didn't work out. And I help them get a job. You don't have to be a jerk. When you're a jerk, it's insecurity. If somebody yells at you, it's insecurity. Them trying to be a egomaniac idiot. And every day I try to ask, everybody runs into me, you know what's going to happen to them? They're going to have a better day. And I carry 50-cent pieces in my pocket. And I give them to people for good luck. Because you don't see them anymore.
You don't.
Yeah.
And I wanted to have something. When I give it to them, this is lucky. If you keep this, it's going to make your life so much better. It's going to be amazing. And they love it. And I went to the bank and got 1,000 of them. I got all they had. A little thing. People say, I can't give 50 cents there, but no, you can't. So get a bunch of pennies and tell Penny, I'll give a penny for your thoughts. And have a reputation for that person who every time you say, you got anything you want me to do better? Here's a penny. I mean, find ways to be different. Find ways to have people enjoy being with you, happy to see you, happy to tell you the truth. And people will not tell you the truth 100% until they trust you. And that takes time.
Yeah.
So my granddaughter, when you go to college, trust no man. Especially if they're in college, they lie. They will tell you they want to hold your hand. That's not what they want.
Yeah.
You listen to me and your father. We're the only men you listen to until later.
Yeah. Expand. What else did they do? No, I was kidding.
He knows they lie. I lied to my mother every day to get what I wanted. You know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, this has been such an insightful conversation. So I'm going to wrap it up with our very final question. So looking back over your career from milking cows in Oklahoma to leading one of the largest hospitality operations in the world, what advice would you give to young professionals just starting their careers?
So two things, really check that attitude, check that you got a system to get it all done, because when you're hired, they're going to start giving things to do. And find a way to keep up. You've got to be reading, you got to be going back to class, go back and get your MBA, you got to go, I mean, whatever you got to do. If you got to take a course at the junior college on IT, because it's been an important part of your work. I tell you, I read every day. I go to bed at 8:30 and I read for an hour and a half. And the reason, because if I get in bed, I put my phone sleeps in another room. I don't ever take my phone in there, and I read. I'm reading about January 6th right now. With it's really insightful, and it's sad sometimes. Part of the, and I'm reading another book about chief warrant officer woman about the sexual abuse in the military, how serious that is.
Yeah.
And those two books, I have a whole new. You think differently. You understand that now. Now, when I hear this, oh yeah, I think that's right. And you know, the sexual abuse in the military, it's from your commanding officer. I mean, I mean, it just, you got to read. You got to know what's going on. And when you don't know how to do something, have somebody show you. You know, I mean,
I have one more question for you, actually. And this is more of a what would you do scenario. So let's just say you were a senior in college, maybe like an engineering major, I don't know. And you were just stuck between two avenues. Like, should I go and pursue more work or just graduate and get into the field? Or should I consider getting my MBA right after school? It's a year-long program in person. Or should I just hop into school and hop into the job field and go back to school whenever, you know?
well, here's two ways to think about it. I have a niece who's a structural engineer. She works for Shell Oil, and she graduated from Rutgers, or not Rutgers, Clemson. Then she went and got her MBA in engineering at Georgia Tech, and she got out of school. She took a job with a small English UK company, in the oil business in Houston. And what caused her to leave there, the good old boys down there didn't include her because she's a girl. There's not many women in engineering. So she walked across the street and got a job with Shell Oil, doubled her salary. Today she's working in Venezuela, in Argentina. She's doing great. And now my son, on the other hand, got his degree at Boston University and then got his MBA 8 years later when Disney paid for it. So I would say in engineering, you're going to get bigger offers with your master's. I mean, you are. And you got to make sure that you've got the discipline to go back, because, after 2 or 3 years, next thing you know, it'll be 10 years. You're going to go back. You're going to go back. Or can you go while you're working? I mean, my son he took the 3-year MBA and he went 3 nights a week for 3 years while he was head of the Magic Kingdom at Disney. And it was tough. He had a baby in one arm and a book in the other for 3 years. It's just a matter of how and who you work for. Will they support you getting your master's? And probably they will. What, are you an engineer?
I am.
I'm telling you, engineering degree, that's like gold.
Yes, sir.
Mm.
You get an engineering degree and then you get your MBA. You can do anything you want.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
I mean, literally, I'm serious.
Yes, sir.
There's so shortage of engineers that it's sad. I mean, I did a program for Black and Veatch up in Kansas City. They were short 600 engineers.
Wow.
They had to quit taking on projects. They build highways and all big projects, like 600. Disney's looking for 22 engineers right
Really?
now.
Really?
Can't find them.
Wow.
Good for you.
What type?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I talked to one of them the other day, was a structural, but what kind of engineering you studying?
Computer electrical.
Well, I'm sure.
Sure, they got electrical and computers in
And
there.
my past internship, we had some mechanical engineering experience as well. So any of those three.
My granddaughter's here right now, and her husband's a mechanical engineer,
Oh,
and he worked for what's the big company that makes all the weapons and
Raytheon?
Lockheed Martin.
Lockheed Martin. He worked for Lockheed Martin for 2 or 3 years, got promoted once and did good. Now they wanted to get out of Denver and they wanted to do something else, so they wanted to go to New York and live in Manhattan. So he got a job and he now works for the railroad,
Oh,
and he loves it. He gets great pay. They have a great retirement plan, vacation. He gets free transportation in New York.
That's a
They-
steal.
He just loved it. He got to drive all the different engines when he joined the company to learn about them, and high demand. He had many offers, and you will too. You will too. And so, but you could be taking a course along the line, a finance course, or work. If you get with the right company, they'll probably encourage that and they'll pay for it.
yes.
And I'm glad my son, Disney paid for my son, saved me $36,000. So that was like,
Yes.
that's the magic. But yeah, you'll figure it out which one you want to do. But don't think you're going to go back, because sometimes you get into life and you don't go back, and
Right.
then you made a lot more money. And you know the only problem with life,
It
life,
is.
life,
Like,
life gets in the way.
yeah.
So you got to really, yeah. But you'll do great. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So how can our followers follow you? Do you have a website? I know you have a website. I know you got books. Where can we find your books, your website, your podcast?
Everything in my life's on leecockerell.com, including the Cockerell Academy, which has 10 courses on it. We have a monthly news. It's all on there. Some videos, stuff like that. I put everything in one place because I'm old. I have to remember where it is, so I don't have to look. But it's there, leecockerell.com. There's a lot of good stuff on there. A lot of it's free. I have a podcast with over 500 episodes, 10 years. We've never missed a Tuesday. I can tell you one thing: if your students just listen to those 15-minute podcasts, it's like getting their master's. We talk about everything.
Yeah.
We talk about how to deal with depression and how families and work and your boss, and I mean, how to handle things. We get listener questions every week and we answer them about somebody. And most of the problems people have, they know what to do. They just want to hear me say it.
Yeah.
They know what to do. If somebody calls, and says, well, I got somebody coming to work late all the time, what should I do? You know what to do.
Mhm.
As your mother would say, have you talked to him? And you'd say, well, no, not yet, well, talk to him. So you talk to him, you tell your mother or your boss, a month later, he's still coming to work late. What should I do? Fire him. And people pay me to give them that advice.
Right.
Huh? If I tell people, they say, what do you do? I said, okay, I can help you with your business. Hire the right people, train them, treat them right, be respectful. And they give me money to say that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like you would your kids.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's so simple, it's sad.
Yeah. Simple as
It's so simple, it's sad. There is no magic. Treat people right.
Yes, sir.
Everybody in this world wants to matter. I don't care what, as Israel, Palestine, that's the problem. The reason we have war, people don't feel like they matter. And that leads to violence. First, it leads to low productivity, and eventually it can lead to violence. It did here in the 60s. I was in the 60s in Washington, D.C. when we were on curfew, tanks in the street, machine gun on the White House lawn, burning the city, Martin Luther King and all that stuff had happened, Bobby Kennedy. It's been here. There were 1,000 banks blown up in the 60s. People don't even know that. You think things are bad now? 60s were 10 times worse.
Yeah.
And that's why people should read.
Man.
We had a huge problem with Congress in the 30s of people trying to overthrow the government. And people don't know that. I mean, serious problems where actually congressmen were taking money from Hitler, from the Hitler government. And when you start to read and you know that, you said, everything reproduces itself. There's egomaniacs, people want to be in charge, they want to control the world, they want to be they're nuts. But it's happened over. We had the Civil War. I mean, it just there's nothing new.
We probably need to do another episode and just talk about all the stuff you probably read and just unpack that. Maybe recorded or not recorded, I don't know. But
we can do it anytime you want. I like getting this kind of information to students because they need to learn to think differently and not think everything's lovely.
Yes, sir.
You're going to have obstacles in your life. That's all your life is, just to solve obstacles. First, you get up in the morning, and then you got traffic, and then you go through life and you take care of them. And the people who don't, let them pile up, and then their life goes to hell. You know these people. You know them.
So when's the last time that you've been to Disney World? Like, do you go visit for fun? I've never been, so I don't know if
I have a lifetime pass for 4, and I don't go. I went every day for 16 years.
Yeah.
And it's hot down here. I stay in the house.
What part of Florida are you actually in? Or if you don't mind sharing? Orlando?
What's that?
You're in Orlando, Florida right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I take people occasionally when they want to go. And my grandkids grew up here, so they don't go either. They've been 1,000 times to Disney.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. You get jaded. You've been to, it's like eating the same diet every day. You get tired. But they're still doing wonderful things over there. And I mean, it's great. And everybody still today, they love it. And they do a great job.
This year, SOAS, I don't know if you're familiar with them at all, Southern Association of Colleges and Employers. So career service professionals and employers from higher education, we get together and we do this conference. And we're actually being hosted in Orlando this year.
Sure.
So we're definitely gonna have to slide by and check that out on our free time, definitely.
When is it?
It's gonna be during the first week of December. So December like 3rd through the 6th, we'll be there. Yeah, during the weekend.
Let me know. I might come by and see you and have a coffee or something.
Okay, yeah, definitely want to look forward to that. So thank you so much for this conversation. Like I said, this has been extremely insightful. I know our students will take a lot from this. I'm definitely looking forward to maybe having a follow-up conversation with you. But if you haven't already, please follow us on More Than a Resume. We will have a YouTube coming soon, but right now we have a Spotify account that you can pull our audio from. So if you're interested in being a part of our podcast or want to suggest any topics, just email us. We'll have the contact information listed at the bottom. But yeah, is there anything else you want to kind of leave us off with, or are you good to go?
I would say to leave you with, don't underestimate what you can do. And don't underestimate your influence every time you come in contact with people.
Yes.
They're going to love you or hate you when you depart each other.
Yes. You are so close.
So that's good. Look, send me that information so I have it all.
Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely do that. We will definitely do that. But yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much again for your time. And we hope you have a great rest of your day.
I appreciate it, Mr. Lee.